Welcome from the break. This is the dialogue on Soul TV. My name is Prince Apollo. On the show, we are still looking at the State of the Nation address delivered by President Museveni on Thursday, full of optimism. But of course, the president also had took a bub, sent a bub at the what he called the careerists and parasites, especially in the opposition, whom he accuses for, of course, working with foreigners but he also talked about the saboteurs within his NRM government, but also in the army. Quite quite shocking, because I think it is the first time the president is talking about such issues of internal saboteur. I can hear from you as we kick off this second hour, Richard. What do you think was the president referring to when he talked about the saboteurs and careerists and parasites within his government?
So, for me, I think that was the most notable part of the State of the Nation address. I think that more than one reference to that sabotage careerists. But it's not the first time he's talking about careerists. No, he always talked about career. He always talks about careerists. Actually, we're discussing this question of careerists wherever each one of us is, and then somebody says, "But if you are in Parliament for 25 years, or if you are in a position, if you are a presidential advisor for 30 years, or if you are in any other position, including his, for 30 plus years, aren't you a careerist yourself? You know, is careerism necessarily negative?" I think the element that I picked was that they are doing it for personal wealth, and something for personal gain. I think one of the reasons you have a lot of public distrust, anger, is because of the perception, the people's thinking, the people's belief, the people's experiences, that actually a lot of the people who have been in charge of their resources have been doing it for personal gain. They don't believe. That's for me is the foundation of all this anger, all this anguish, all this protest, is because they believe that their resources have been put to people's personal gain and use. So who is innocent should be the question.
Okay.
Who is innocent of this? If you are in charge of public resources in any way, NGO, because NGOs we are also not very necessarily above board, government, whatever you are, if you are in charge of public resources, who is there who can stand and say, first of all, we all spend in the positions many years. So are we careerists? Are we not? But secondly, we all use these, many of us anyway, use these for personal gain and what. So, but that was for me the notable one. Why it's notable is that for me, when I listen to President Museveni, my mind is going to say, this is not for what has happened. This is for what he has designed to happen. So who are you targeting to purge, for example? Because you are preparing the public.
By talking about internal.
So who are you preparing?
Saboteurs.
Yes, who are you preparing to purge? Yes. Or this internal now, from the inside, who are you preparing to throw out or to expose? Or are you saying this architecture I have is very lousy, so we demolish it and we reconstruct? We deconstruct it and construct another one. Is he preparing us for that? Those are the questions I ask myself. Who is coming next? And what architecture? Because when he starts criticizing...
You know your chairman.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I know him, but what I agree is that when he starts preparing you...
There is something coming.
Then, yeah, you know, because he looks so much ahead of us. He thinks so much ahead.
Should we prepare for a reshuffle soon?
No, a reshuffle is not a purge. No, a reshuffle is nothing. You see, I have said to you, Apollo, many times, that if you give me a certain job with a title, high-sounding title, and you give me the job of a driver of somebody, I may choose the job of the driver of this somebody than a high-sounding title. Because this driver, because of the proximity, is much more influential, much more impactful, much more. So don't tell me about how reshuffles. What do they mean? A cabinet minister, in my view, is as much as an AD. In the president's view, as an assistant RDC.
Thank you so much, viewers. Let me take your comments on 0701 609906. Let's have your comments via WhatsApp, via SMS, and the producer, I request him to run that number on the screen, talking about the ambitious target of the economy to grow tenfold in 10 years from now, from 160 billion US dollars to 500 billion US dollars. But also in this hour, we'll also interrogate the factors that may actually affect this ambitious target. I think some of them have been highlighted, but we'll deep in the details. Because some people were actually asking why the president did not fully address the issue of corruption, because he promised that he would address it in his budget speech, I think, much more in budget speech, but that has been an elephant in the room for very many years. And even from his previous addresses, he has pointed out that if we fight corruption, then we'll have moved a bigger step. But how is he ready to address this issue of corruption? And others are also saying the issue of managing politics has not also been addressed in this address. The politics of the country, the issue of the transition, the question of transition, how is it going to be addressed? I don't know from you if you expected him to address himself to that issue, or if it is possible that the president can address the issue, such a matter in an address.
Apollo, unless we have a new president, Museveni, in the country, who arrived yesterday. But I would expect a different opinion about democracy or his facts about electoral, voting, manipulation, and so forth, because he has consistently told us that he's the one who is cheated. Every time he's done election from 1980, he's the one who is cheated. Okay? So I don't expect that narrative from his mouth to change. But what is the reality on the ground? Who wields the power? He has sung about biometric system to curb, imposters, mass voting, multiple voting. And when he wanted the cameras for security on the road, how long did it take him to get the billions and procure cameras? I believe that the biometric system we want is cheap, actually, than the cameras that we procured for security. So it means he himself and his government is not interested in reforming how we vote. So the question is, who benefits from the confusion? Who has the resources?
Did you expect him to address himself to matters of politics?
I think he addressed himself, but in a contradictory way, because he said that he's aware of those the people who are negative, who are doing negative participation in the politics. So negative politics from the opposition. So to him, the opposition is the what? The problem. But has he created an operating environment for political parties to grow as public institutions? It's not there. Did you see our friend Norbert Mao?
Is that a factor in this in this dream of the 500.
Yes, politics is a very big factor to a country's development because politics and what they call governance. Okay, now this includes how we budget, how we allocate resources, how do we monitor these resources, how do we allow participation, public participation from sections of society, how those all, how do security forces behave to allow others also to participate and contribute effectively, how do we make our laws to allow the young people be involved, all these have an implication on the development process.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Let me read some of the messages that are coming in before we proceed. Okay. I can see. Good morning. Hello. My name is Mokone Wilberforce from Namayingo, Buswali sub-county. He said thank you so much for the discussions. Thank you too. Good morning, Soul TV and the guests. As long as government doesn't change its priorities, plus not cutting its huge expenditure, we shall blame past leaders back last. E.g., why spend taxpayers' money on bailing out fake investors, both foreign and local, who squander billions on luxurious lifestyle? The government should promote the use of proper contraceptives to check the booming population of dependents. The government should put stringent measures to check men who sire kids far, yet they are not ready for willing to provide for them. The fighters should be dealt with accordingly, so as to protect young girls, kids who are giving birth and leading to a vicious circle of poverty. This is Mudua Rose. Thank you so much, Mudua Rose. And okay. I will actually implore you, Jane. What do you think was not addressed? Or if we are to hit this target, this ambitious target of $500 billion in 10 years, what should be done? What should be put in place to now so that we prepare?
Okay.
I mean, if you can start from there.
Okay, I will start from there. But I have liked the issue of the population and the men doing it far.
Actually, she raised a very serious issue.
Very serious. But the
Men
answer,
do with who? They do alone.
but the answer to the solution is really education.
Yeah.
Our education system has totally broken down. You know, my mother is in Kasanda. She's a midwife, a private. Yeah? She retired early from government service, went into private midwifery. Just recently, they celebrated her, in her area. Those people who were delivered from there, I just couldn't believe it, her records. Eh? She could deliver, because she's now retired again from there, she could deliver 60 babies a month, 40 babies a month. She delivered like you delivered your son and the grandchildren. They are delivering. I looked at the records, it was unbelievable. And I was asking her, what's the problem? And she said, it's education. Kids come from school, P7, they fall out of school, nowhere to go. And what do you do if you are a girl? You get married, you start producing, So I think we need to address the issue of
population
education.
Boom.
The population boom. You can't give men whatever they won't swallow them when they Men don't want to swallow things. The question was, how do we move from here?
Yeah.
And I wanted to go back to the issue which Dr. Wedike...
Politics?
The issues he raised about the drivers. He put it very, very well. For example, when you look at Ghana, the oil, there are other things which needs to be done. Tourism. So we call them, they are the drivers.
Of
and
the
government
economy.
was of the economy. ATMS, agro-industrialization, tourism,
manufacturing.
ATM, mineral development, science, technology, and innovation. ATMS. So he has said on tourism, it's about security, the roads. So the others are drivers, these are the enablers. And we need to look at those enablers. That if we are to do agro-industrialization, what are the enablers? You know, for example, take an issue of banking. You can't run an economy without a bank. And we don't have any bank.
There's a Uganda Development Bank, I think, which has been capitalized every financial year.
But who is accessing that bank? You know, how many people are accessing it? We want a commercial bank, like what we had UCB. People used to deposit, people get loans.
The president read out to tourism roads that have been constructed in those areas.
But look at an issue of security. The president didn't talk about the transition, election. You know, tourists plan. They're already planning for next year. They put their money aside and they look at Uganda. DP, what happened? People were fighting. We are not going there. Maybe we'll go there another time. That's how tourists plan. He didn't tell the people out there that when it comes to elections, I'm going to be in control. Look at what happened in Kawempe. You know, surely if people here, Kawempe was just a small, you know, but now it's going to be an entire country.
It's a general election.
How can you put your money somewhere to come to
if we are tourists?
You see? So we need to look at the enablers of the drivers. Again, Dr. Wedike raised the issue of FDI.
Foreign direct investment.
Foreign direct investment. Investors have come in. And it was good you mentioned the Netherlands. You know, Netherlands will have a double taxation agreement with Netherlands. That means when they invest here, they pay very little tax here. They pay it the other side because we have a double taxation agreement. In fact, when you look at our investors here, they are from Netherlands, even Mauritius, because we have a double taxation agreement with them. So you look at FDI coming in a lot, but how much of this, you said 4 billion, how much of it is going to stay here? Because you remember, we allow investors to take out their money. All of
repatriate.
it, repatriate. There are no policies around reinvestment. Other countries, when you invest, they give you some little incentives to reinvest that money back. We don't do that. When you look at our investors, like now the investment code we have, we allow them almost to go everywhere. That's why you see there is Kaweri, they are growing coffee, displaced people to grow coffee, and they send out the coffee to Hamburg to process it in Hamburg, not here. You know, so when we look at where we want to go, you know, we need also to be able to see what are those enablers, what kind of policies are in place, is there infrastructure or not? You know?
No, the question is to you. Are there policies? Are there?
No, the policies.
Has the infrastructure been put in place?
The infrastructure, there is some infrastructure, but you can't trade, and we have been talking about it when we are having tea. You can't trade, you know, when you are using lorries, you know, when you are taking things out of the country using traders. I see traders coming from, maybe they bring rice or what, with even sons on top, because I understand, you have seen that, you know, sons, you know, these son trees, they are put on the
shrubs,
because people are stealing.
Steal from the trailers.
What kind of trade is that? And the image out there that when you are bringing things in Kampala, in Uganda, you put that. But we need to address the issue of infrastructure if we are going to do it, if we are going to trade. It wasn't talked about.
The standard gauge railway is being, I mean, I think it is starting in the next financial year.
That's standard
the money
gauge.
has been
You
Standing
remember
Gauge Road
when
project.
was it in 2014 when the
was launched.
ministers,
The heads of
leaders,
state.
heads of state were pushing something?
I remember
That was
2014.
20 what? They were
2014.
launching. Weren't they launching that?
Yeah.
For me, I think what's really missing out, because if you want to reach a certain destination that want, these are our drivers, but even our destination is not very, very clear. That's one. Because what we have here, what the president has been saying, that our drivers, ATMS, want to do to increase so much, but for what? We need to be clear that we want to create so many jobs. We want to increase the. You see, when it comes to coffee, by the way, coffee, it's clear, want to increase the bags of coffee by so much, you know? So even our plan, because if the destination is not clear, you know, any destination is good enough. They tell us 6.3% and we celebrate that. But what does it mean? So if we want to say so many jobs, so many, we have to do that.
Okay.
Then two, lastly, I think we need also to be able to clearly indicate how do we arrive there and how do we do that. Because what was missing out here also is the scanning of the environment. It's like Uganda, we are in a bubble doing our own things, but we are part of a broader ecosystem, a broader environment. You can't implement what we are saying here without looking at the East African community, without looking at what's happening in Africa, without looking at what Trump is doing to us, increasing tariffs. They didn't talk about that.
President Museveni is a strong proponent of the East African integration and community.
Yeah, but what, you know, you can't be.
And Uganda has been, an active participant in.
Yeah, but we participate. How much are we benefiting from there? Because at the end of that day, we have to say we are in the East African community, but this is what we want to benefit from it. You know, trade relationships are not like love relationships. No, trade relationship, you have to know what am I selling in that community. You know, how do I make sure that I improve my economy by being in that community? You know, so you just don't join. We are now in the CFTA Continental Free Trade Area. We need to be clear, what are we going to sell in that community, in that area, because it's the entire Africa. I don't see that.
Thank you, Jen, and viewers. Thank you so much for tuning in. Another comment coming in here from Yiga Samuel Mere Namlondo Zone Weogerere. Mr. Paul, thanks for the show. Nothing much will change, whether political, social, and economical, when we still have the president and his corrupt officials. Okay. The message is somehow reflects bitterness, but yes, thank you so much for sending in. Let's have those messages coming in. Tell us what you think about the State of the Nation address and the ambitious target of 500 billion US dollars, a 500 billion US dollar economy in just 10 years. I don't know why anyway, let me ask Richard, who said for him, he doesn't even want to comment. But Richard, how does politics play in this whole thing? Because when we saw what somebody talked about, the chaos in the DP, and I even saw people who are talking about transition. I saw a picture. I saw Honorable Moses Ali picking forms to still run as MP. What do you pick from those who are agitating for one, politics to be at the center stage, if on the list of those which should be addressed as we look forward?
Politics politics is already at the center stage. Yeah.
How are we handling
It's
it?
politics. Yeah, it's politics. You see, if I have a plan of living for the next 50 years, and I am more than 50 years now, I have an interesting task ahead of me. If my plan is that I live another 50 years, I have a very interesting task to achieve. But I will behave in certain ways to try and achieve that. So first, on the economy, why I am not too enthusiastic talk is that there are certain things you look at and you are like, but surely I should not be spending energy. debating,
but it will affect
debating
you.
that. So no,
It will affect you.
debating. It's not that I am not behaving, but it's the debating. I'm like, but I'm not spending energy debating this thing. You see, if I look at the ballot box, the ballot papers for president, and I say that if Dr. Chiza Besigye is out of prison, then he is the least likely to be on the PFF ballot box. Really, am I being serious? If I take NUP and I say, no, I think Rubongoya will be the one on the ballot box for president, on the ballot paper for president. Am I being serious? If I take the Yellow Group and I say, President Museveni will not be. So there are certain things you say, but I am not going to expend energy debating. We fairly know who is going to be on the ballot box 2026, except for biology, like I always say. And
Ballot paper.
So that's the same thing. That transition must happen because of biology and nature. You can't defeat that. You can defeat all the others. We do not have the capacity yet to defeat biology and nature. So the transition must happen. The thing is when. But if I want to still be an analyst on Salt TV, I will be saying things that will not make the owner angry and break a call and say, don't call that one again. So if I still want to be president for the next 10 years, and so I will behave in a certain way. And the economy must respond to that. The law must respond to that. Parliament must respond to that. The judiciary must respond to that, must respond to my wanting to remain president for the next 10 years. So the parliament will propose laws that make sure I stay. The judiciary, and the people will go to court to against that law. The judiciary must rule that that law was correct. So it is the same. It is the same. The same way I was saying that, you see, politics rules. Yes, the budget is a political budget. Let me tell you, Apple. There is something that has been pointed out again and again. It is the budget. There are two budgets. One is classified budget. Classified budget has moved from the traditional classified institutions, which do intelligence and counterintelligence, to everyone. Everyone has. Why? Why does so that's one. The second budget is the budget for what you can call CSR. They will call it
corporate social responsibility.
Yeah, they will call it public relations. They will call it engagement.
That is luxury, more of luxury.
No, it is not. This is the budget which you have to deal with managing the ones who don't agree with you. It's the easiest budget to touch to deal with those ones who don't agree with you, or for that matter, to entrench yourself. So if you are a deputy speaker, for example, and you need to have a big budget for that, because then you will go and manage the women groups, the youth groups, the whatever with that money, because you have the discretion to spend it. And you see how it has been increasing. So I know that in the budget for classified for many offices will increase, and it will be protected. That is for sure. I know that however Mulago Hospital cries, because if you look at the State of the Nation address, it says it's going to increase money for cardiovascular, for heart and cancer. And these are the areas, I really am in trying to push. But if you will have the Heart Institute, for example, telling you that it can be the center, the regional center for heart treatment of excellence at 108 billion.
Just 108.
It will not get it. It will probably get 18 billion. But the hospital of Ruboa will get 1 trillion. You certainly can take away 100 billion from the hospital of Ruboa, give it to the Heart Institute, which is a running entity, and you will have.
So it is what Rose pointed out in her comment, the question of priorities and addressing the lavish lifestyle of our leaders in order to find more money to go to those priority areas.
Yeah, but you see, it is even beyond that. If you look, for example, at the way we are contracting debt, my children who are teenagers will spend their entire lifetime paying back the debts we are contracting now.
The public debt.
So it is not that it is not that simple. It is not that easy that I am looking at my teenage children and saying we are contracting debt now to service a certain lifestyle of some people, and my children will actually pay.
That's odious debt. They won't pay. Legitimate.
Jen, just 2 minutes. Let me give Jen 2 minutes to speak about the date. We are not talking about, I mean, in the address, I don't know if even in budget speech we'll find we'll find time to give it, to give it time in that address. Do you think it's also a challenge that we are not addressing ourselves to this huge public debt?
Yeah, it's a challenge. You can't say we are going to grow the economy by so many billions when we are in that trap of debt. Whatever we generate, we pay, then we contract more.
Is it now at 105 trillion?
Yeah, something like that. And we are still contracting more. But then even the usage, and what Richard is saying is true, where are we putting it in Rubowa Hospital, which is not there? So the priorities are not there. But as civil society, we are also pushing. We are pushing for responsible lending and responsible borrowing. So even for you, a lender, you have to be responsible. Because if any bank, you can't work in any bank and you are indebted up to here and they give you a loan. So there has to be some responsibility. And what we are saying, we are analyzing some of the loans we have acquired and saying that loan, we are not going, that's an odious debt. That's an illegitimate debt. That the lender wasn't responsible enough. Because you see, these lenders take that leeway that even our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren will pay. Why should we shackle our future generations with such a debt? So those are some of the issues really which we need to look at when we are looking at indebtedness. And then you can't acquire debts to suppress your people, and then you expect the people to pay. So the whole issue of debt, really, it's a big debate at the global level, at the UN level, because it's not just Uganda alone. There are countries like Zambia who are already defaulting, So it's an issue which is on table at that level.
Okay, Dr. Wanzala, how do you think the resentment in public on issues related to human rights? Because some were saying, before the address, people were saying, we would want to hear the president talk about the human rights situation in this country, the allegations of abductions and kidnaps and that. How do they now affect our prospects for resilient and growing economy?
Thank you very much, Apple. First of all, you said allegations, okay? But since some agencies have come up to admit and also throw these people in courts of law, we can say that they are no longer what? Allegations. So they have accepted that they are taking place, only that I think they have not acknowledged that these are violations. They think it is normal. Now, let me tell you, if we are looking at, say, tourism, where the president rightly said that we have a potential of earning 50 billion, from it, 50 billion dollars from it. I think that potential is there, but usually they're ticking the boxes to tick before they go to a country. Issues with security, the politics, the corruption, because corruption affects everyone. You may come as a tourist and in trying to get a service, you're asked to pay more.
Exactly.
And it has also issues to do with ethics, in hotels, in what. So the implications are bigger. So issues, there are countries that quickly give advisory notes to their people who are intending to travel to a certain country. I saw when we were having Kawempe, I saw foreign embassies here on their website.
Exactly.
If you are considering coming to Kampala, be careful.
Be careful.
So people who would have booked at that time the Great Lake safaris and others, they will make losses. So ideally, it directly impacts on and will affect what we expect to earn from those areas.
And there's another thing about tourists these days, that they come on a single, I don't know, they call it a single what?
Visa?
Yeah, that they visit
Kenya,
Uganda, Kenya, Rwanda.
Rwanda.
And that's also another challenge, I think,
Yeah,
that if you have a problem in Rwanda or in our neighboring countries, they will automatically have. And
Exactly.
I don't know if how we can get it. But finally, from you, how best can we now harness what we have achieved so far in order to realize this dream of a bigger and resilient economy?
I think one is to agree that this country belongs to all of us. There are various stakeholders. There are peasants, we have the students, we have the people in the military, we have the civil servants, we have the business community, that we need to engage various stakeholders. Two, the Chinese tell that if you are to fight poverty, you must properly study this poverty, how the poverty manifests, where does it exist, and then design programs that target. Like, you cannot convince me up to date that PDM implemented uniformly across the country. Like I see in Karamoja, a post bank vehicle moving, giving cash, and a woman jumping up and down. We'll go and transform using that money. Or, it's not. So I think we need to be thinkers. Let's not just jump on things. Because if you, again, the Chinese say that if you don't know where you are going, anywhere will take you. Okay? So anywhere will take us. The other, which I want to address to the president directly, is that I don't up to now agree that these 2 years or 1 year and something on president monitoring PDM is real about PDM. The resources that are taken, I think they are for campaigns, but I want to see a midterm evaluation done by independent people
on PDM.
Yes, on PDM. I don't want to hear from the Honorable Nabanja that we have, Honorable Castle, that we have disbursed
3.3 trillion
3.3 as accountability. I want to see if you disburse this yet, you could tell me that 2 million people have received it. But I want to see how has it transformed from an independent study. Then I will agree that that's a better approach. So we have money, we have actually most times borrowed, but then we are disbursing it, how we monitor its impact. Sometimes it is wastage. And if you do the same thing over and over again and expecting the same results, honestly, you'll be mad.
Your final comment on the show, Doctor. We have now a round of final comments.
The final comment is, we thank the president for presenting his statement as an accountability tool, but I think it should also go down, not to just to address broader stories. We should also have focused Like if you see in some countries, they will, count issue by issue. We constructed this number of schools. We were able to expand this number of hospitals in the last 1 year with this and that. So, but it is lacking in this.
Right.
We're just throwing billions of dollars. So we need to improve.
Richard, your final comment in 2 minutes.
So we have to do related things, and they are very difficult for us. One, we have to just manage ourselves to tell less lies.
Oh,
Yeah, I think we are very excellent lie tellers. And I can tell you one of the things that happens, especially in a communication, is when you tell a lie repetitively, particularly when you tell it smartly, it becomes truth. So we really have to tell less lies, because we are telling lies to the public, but also to ourselves. We are really lying to ourselves. So that's the first one. The second is we have to more honestly face the truth.
yeah.
We have the truth before us. We can look the other way or put our heads under the sand, but the truth.
What is
before
the
us.
truth, Richard?
The part of the truth is that we are great liars. That's part of the truth. Because you see, when you tell us these lies, it does not translate into telling the truth.
Yeah.
We have to do both. We have to really reduce our lie telling, but we also have to face this truth and confront it. One of the truths I've been telling you, Apollo, for example, is that we are a very angry people. We have to make interventions to de-angrize ourselves. We can pretend that we shall manage the anger.
How would you do that?
But you have to sit down and honestly look in the face of each other and dialogue.
Yeah.
You just have to. Otherwise, this pretense that things are okay, that we are doing well, is pretense. And it cannot, it is sustainable up to a point.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Jen, I saw the president thank the members of parliament for enacting and working on the
PDA.
no, on the rationalization bills. And a thorny issue about rationalization bills is the umeme buyout, because it looks like umeme is taking things very far. They want more and more money. You can wind up.
Yeah, okay.
And still people on the ground are still dissatisfied with the services of UDCL.
Yeah, you know, Umeme, for me, I'm happy that Umeme went, you know.
It has not gone.
No,
They
yeah.
still demand.
They still demand, but it was mismanaged. That was our mismanagement of our entire economy. Because the whole issue of the way Umeme, the way we disbanded the UEB, remember UEB disbanded it, gave you transmission, generation, what? That was an entire mistake, and we'll have to pay for that. And we'll pay. There are no two ways about it, but we need to learn lessons. And that's how UCB went. You remember that entire privatization. So we made a mistake, and we are paying for those mistakes. But for me, my prayer is that we learn lessons from that.
Even people are crying about roads that UNRWA has not, the exit of UNRWA, the merging of UNRWA.
Yeah, but that's mismanagement. UNRWA was our government entity. It has gone back to the ministry. It's mismanagement, lack of implementation, and corruption. So we need to do better.
Wind up.
But winding up, the issue of ideology is very important, and I think we need to think deep about ideology. All of us, we are Christians here. We have a creed, This is what I believe. So the president to say people inside, it's like the bishop telling me that, one of the priests is undermining me. If you are in the same community, same ideology, how can you say that? So he should do better about ideology. The issue of priority is very important. You can't start talking about Kira Motors producing electric vehicles when we are still using a hoe. And you say Kira Motors that we are going to sell them in West Africa. Yet Tesla is being outcompeted by the Chinese. Is it BYD?
BYD.
You know, so we need to see if we are to move from where we are. Where is our competitive?
We invest where
do we
there
invest?
is return on investment.
Exactly. And that's the priority that Led talked about.
All right.
Lastly, we need to redesign, and Richard talked about this. Because you see the system we have today is not, it's designed that way for a certain purpose. But if we wanted to do another purpose, we need to redesign it. And I go back to Trump. Trump talked about real issues, that we need to increase taxes there. We need somebody to be able to think, analyze, and overhaul the entire system.
Thank you so much. And I see Musimenta, I see Gilbert, Onesimus, they're all appreciating you, gentlemen and the lady, and of course appreciating Sol TV for the discussion. Thank you so much, our viewers. We will be back next Saturday. Thank you so much, Jen.
Thank you
and
so
thank
much.
you so much for those very focused and precise insights.
Thank you.
Richard, it's a pleasure.
Jen wants to throw all of us out, as if overhaul everything and we go.
Hey.
A problem. You see, that's why we are going to stay where we are.
But I think it may not be easy.
Another 10 years.
Now.
Another 10 years only, and then we
if you don't do that, then we have a problem.
Dr. Gerard Were, thank you so much for your time and insight.
I did not congratulate Honorable Norbert Mao. The headlines were very funny this week. That finally Mao gets back his meal card.
He was looking at those. I said, which journalists are this? But thanks to my brother Mao. Anyway.
Thank you so much, our viewers. Thanks to the production team. Thank you so much to those who sent in their comments and contributions. We are going into sports updates. We wish you a splendid weekend. But actually, it is Heroes Day on Monday. Another public holiday.
Another public holiday.
June is another month. My name is Prince Apollo. Stay on Salt. You can follow these recordings and videos on WhatsApp and on Twitter and YouTube. But until we meet next time, God bless you. God bless Uganda.